Wow, that was weird. Good evening. Let me see. I might not be ready for this. How are y'all doing? I might not be ready for this. What is the name of this one? I had 4 titles up. One was I wonder what was it? I forgot now. Oh, I had a few titles. And these are just thoughts that I thought maybe I would turn into a video, but I didn't. Because I've been busy. It's spring break, so we're out and about. I'm getting packages delivered, and oh, sorry, got a flitter here. Um, Getting packages delivered, all types of different things. So my week has been very hold on. Very busy. So here's what let me see. Let's think about the names of these titles real quick. I might be able to, yep, I got them. Okay. So one is, I want to know what you'd be like if faced with my obstacles. The other is, that's weird. And avoidance cause insecurity. So if you're avoidant, your partner's insecurity is your problem. To an extent. Excuse me, everything is like a group effort. But anyways, so this video, I believe, is called Pattern Recognition is Not Insecurity. And that kind of goes hand in hand with avoidance cause insecurity. So if you're avoidant and if you're an avoidant, your partner's insecurity is your problem. Those kind of go hand in hand together. Pattern recognition is not insecurity, you know? But let's start with the weirdest thing. Okay, weird. Weird was one of the titles. I think I made that. When did I make that? That's weird. Oh, that's weird. That's odd. What does that mean? March 31st. So I actually made it on March 30th, which was Monday. The reason being is because on Monday, I found out that I've been blocked, and this entire time, all my texts that I sent can be seen. So I've been like frustrated with that, because I have been texting and calling, and it wasn't until today, not today, Monday at 3 something, that I found out that you can see my text and my calls. The reason that this is because the reason that I didn't know this, all right, so I thought I knew the truth, okay, because I've had a friend with an Android who said that, there's like a special area where blocked text messages go, or you could see when somebody calls you, okay, but I had made a comment, I don't even know when, I think it was like in September maybe, and said something like, I can't see when you call or text me when you're blocked. So I just assumed that Androids no longer have that feature, or I've never had an Android a day in my life. Okay, and I think I've made it known that I don't know anything about technology at all. Like, what's that? The fuck? I don't know anything about technology. So if you told me that you can't see when I call or text when I'm blocked, then I would assume when I call or text you don't know about it. Okay? So I called twice, no, it was more than that. On this shit's pissing me off a little bit. I called, I have the dates written down. We'll just do that instead of me trying to recall from my brain. I called on 11/3, 11/5, and 12/5. Okay, and then I called again recently on Friday of last week. Again, this individual told me that they could not see when I call or text, and that was like in response to something I had said. I had said something like, you must be like, you, what did I say? It doesn't matter. Wednesday, November 5th, it says, I blocked your number, so I don't even know when you text or call me. Okay. That was November 5th. So since November, I have texted. Thinking that I was blocked, just getting it out of my system, but not knowing that you can actually see this fucking shit. So things like me apologizing, I didn't think you actually got the text message, me being upset and saying, just your reminder. Just stopping by to remind you that I exist, and you unnecessarily and for no reason broke my heart because you lacked common sense to get an STD test 5 fucking years ago. I didn't know you could see that. Because you said on November 5th, I don't even know. I blocked your number, so I don't even know when you text or call me. So on Tuesday, when you text me and say, what did you call for? I responded, I didn't know that you could do that because you told me that you could not do that. You didn't know that when I call or text. Why do I call or text? Because I am struggling. What did I say today? I said I called because I thought about you and think about you every day. To the point that I have to call or text, whether it's positive or negative. Realizing that you could see this entire time how much pain I was in and took no action is further embarrassing to me. And when I called on Friday, I saw I was still blocked. And now I realize that I called on 11/3, 11/5, 12/5, and text you at least once a month, and you could see all of that. You said that you could see it. So that's why I kept doing it. I didn't think you were getting any of these calls or texts, and I wanted to say this, but I didn't. So what have you been doing with those calls and texts that you claimed that you could not see? Are you showing other people and showing, look, she's still on my dick. Look, she's so mean. Look, she's so crazy. She won't leave me alone. But I thought that blocking me, what are you doing with that? What have you been doing with that knowledge? That's like really, technically, no, I'm not leaving you alone. But because you told me that you could not see it, I didn't think that I was doing any harm. And I'm wondering if you are showing other people this as if I had the intent to harm or disrupt. That's my concern. And it doesn't mean that you have to show people this, because I know that people are still canoodling in my fucking phone. It's so exhausting. So exhausting, but either way, you know, for the record, it is okay that you don't want to be bothered with me, whether I think I deserve an apology or for you to fix things or whatever. That is your choice. But know that it has added hurt to me over the last couple of days to realize I've not just been blocked, but that you could see and actively ignore this entire time. I've called and texted because the situation is simply hard for me to accept. But again, I genuinely did not know you could see it. I said more. You know, I said more before this, because it starts all over again. He said, "Why did you text me?" And I said, "Well, because I didn't know." And, well, that's not an answer. Okay, well, I thought about you and I picked up the phone. I mean, that's the only answer I have. And then nothing. Again, it starts over because now you're stonewalling again. Like, I didn't give you the right answer. What answer did you want? Like, I was hoping you would come back. Did you want that? That's not. I thought that you couldn't see it. So that's weird. What are you doing that for? What, you know, what's funny to me? This is all this stuff is just so fucking funny to me sometimes. Like, you can't do anything but laugh sometimes, because, like, what the fuck is this shit? Right? You're not a liar, right? I'm the liar, and I'm the bad guy, and I'm the bad person. I'm all of these things. And you are not a liar, right? But you lied about, like, the smallest thing just now. Like, no, how dare you accuse me of seeing someone else? I was only seeing you. And you're delusional for believing the patterns that you see. The only pattern you've ever seen, actually. How dare you accuse me of being a further liar, even though I just lied about having an STD that I did not have? How dare you accuse me of being a liar? And then you lied about, like, the smallest shit right here. Why would you do that? That don't even make no sense. So you can't see it. I can't see when you call or text me when you're blocked. I blocked your number. And I am blocked. I called, I go straight to voicemail. You know what I'm saying? I'm blocked. So you say you can't see it. So I'm doing what I would fucking do to relieve my stress about the situation, and whole time you can see it. So what was the purpose of lying about it? So that you could use what I do without the knowledge to fucking further prove your point? I will work harder to accept it, because I did not realize. Oh my God. That's weird. Okay. So moving on into the next topic here. You know, I was saying that pattern recognition is not insecurity. You know, it's not. And I think I have a poem. Hey, though, I'm saying insecurities. If you say you ain't got none, we both know you lying. It's how you act in spite of it. That's one of my favorite poems, so that's why I know those lines a little bit better. That was literally one of my favorite poems. I'm insecure. I have insecurities. Yep, at 30, soon to be 38 in 20 days. I've never been in a relationship. I've only ever been played. I've only ever been a side chick. You know, the very, 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 very first situation that I ever got into, his name was Alex Ellis. Nobody even fucking liked Alex Ellis. You know why? Because Alex Ellis was the darkest, deepest brown. He was beautiful. You know, the kind of dark skin that literally glistens under the sun. I know we were young. You know, sounds kind of weird thinking about it in adulthood. Like, He was gorgeous, honey. And his lips were so big and pink. Okay. Nobody liked that dude. Oh, and he had like these thick ass fucking glasses. I mean, he had the Coke bottle type glasses. Okay. Motherfucker was blind. Take his glasses off, he could not see shit, right? Very, very first situation that I ever had that was like a real anything kind of that I thought it was, you know? And he came out and he was saying that we were going to be together, of course, because they all do that. And I got in trouble. I got caught giving him head on the couch. My sister walked in, and I had like just popped my head up out of the blanket. Okay, now this happened shortly after the situation with those two boys at school. I don't know if he ever knew about it or what, but when I went back to school, everybody was talking about the newest couple, and he ended up choosing this white girl who, once we graduated, she had 4 kids before she was 18. Crazy, right? But anyways, it's okay. I think you were actually, thinking back on you, young lady, who isn't young now, we're 38, but when I think back on you and your kids, I often think that you were like taken advantage of or molested by a youth group pastor, but that was just my suspicion. I don't really blame you for your choices in life, but nonetheless, story continues. He got the white girl, right? So, the next situation after that is New York. And New York took me out on a date, and we, we actually went out on a couple times, and he would call me every day and all that stuff. And then my friend from World Harvest, okay, I had a friend that was still, in fact, she's an editor, and her first big break in editing was for that weight loss show, like the Extreme Weight Loss Makeovers on NBC. Her name was credited on there. I thought that was so cool, right? But she calls me and she tells me, because I had been telling her about my dude and all that stuff, and this is in the beginning phases of picture phones and being able to send picture phones. And it's funny that I'm bringing this up because I just was telling Aaron, okay, when me and that girl were young, we were like in the 3rd, 4th grade, right? And at the time in the 3rd and 4th grade, we still had phones on the wall, right? We had phones on the wall and shit. So I can remember telling her, like, man, it would be so cool if we had a video phone and we could take video and watch each other while we're talking. And like, here we are now. I'm sitting here and I'm talking to you on the internet, exactly how I imagined it in the 3rd grade. You know what I'm saying? So this girl, she was with me in the beginning eras of the picture phone. Little flip from, listen, me and New York had matching phones. He had blue, I had pink. Okay? I thought we was in there. I thought we was locked in. Okay? I thought we was locked in. She sends me a picture of this white girl who is claiming that he is her boyfriend. All I know is the signs, the patterns, because that's literally all I've experienced since I was a 15, 16-year-old girl. All right. So if I'm telling you that a pattern that you have going on is very similar to a pattern I've seen now at least 20 times, the chances that I am wrong, no, baby, I don't miss. I'm so insecure. That doesn't mean that I don't have insecurities. See, there's a difference between having insecurities and insecurities like ruling your personality. Excuse me. I have them. You know what I'm saying? And if you saying you ain't got none, we both know you lying. All right? Because it's not the insecurity. It's about how you do in spite of it. All right? And me recognizing a pattern and asking you about it and you being unable to give me consistent truth about it, all right, is just another red flag. But it doesn't make me an insecure person. I have an insecurity, and it's around my dating realm. Because what y'all love to do is tell me, man, I want to have a baby with you. He didn't say this. Somebody said this. Man, that's my son right there. I'm going to make that my son. All right, whatever. As soon as I let you hit, you going. I'm going to. That shit don't even move me now. Homeboy's talking about, I'm going to prove to you. Hold on, I was about to see what he said. He said some shit like, let me see. Throughout time, I'm going to prove to you that you don't have to be like that with me. I'm not going to try to tell you how I'm different from everyone or anything like that. I'm just going to show you. I did not bite. He stopped trying to show me. Like, immediately. Y'all be playing these fucking games and then try to tell me I'm insecure because I can see it. That's funny. Pattern recognition is not insecurity. It's not the same thing. You know? And so, oftentimes, there are moments in which I feel like I'm inadequate. I think everybody has those feelings. I know they do. If you say you don't, we both know you lying. It doesn't mean that I lack confidence or that I don't think that I would be a good partner. But self-doubt does come into play for everyone at some point, and it's how you act in spite of it. Right? Did I act appropriately all the time? No. But, however, but. We all, you know, that's my own cross to bear. That's my own situation to handle and deal with. But no, pattern recognition is not insecurity. And so then now as we move into the next topic, which is if you are avoidant, avoidance cause insecurity, okay? And that is your problem. So like if we are in a situation, okay? Trust can become a significant issue when the insecure partner's fear of abandonment conflicts with the avoidant partner's reluctance to commit fully. This can create a cycle of insecurity, undermining the stability of the relationship. Okay? That reluctance is actually your problem, not mine. If you are refusing and I'm starting to act insecure because it's like, what the fuck? Like, I'm not understanding what's the issue. The issue must be me because you're not telling me anything that's going on in your life. You're not telling me anything that I can try to understand and not put it on myself. It surely must be that I'm just not good enough for this shit. The problem with avoidance oftentimes is that I've heard I've recently talked to a younger guy. He's like 22 or whatever. There was a little flirtation there, but we quickly moved back into appropriate boundaries. But I heard him say, I do everything for my girlfriend. He has a girlfriend now. He didn't when we met, but it's fine. Excuse me. They'll say things like, I do everything for my partner, right? But they don't. They don't notify you when they change plans. You know what I'm saying? They don't tell you when they're feeling fucked up. Those are actually the things that would make your partner secure. But y'all avoid doing that. You'll buy her whatever, not me. I don't get gifts. I don't get anything. I don't deserve anything is what they've said. So, not me, but there are men out there that are avoidant who will buy their girlfriend anything they want. They will go to any movie that they want. They'll spend as much time as they can. But when it really counts, like saying, hey, I'm actually just feeling really drained and I can't talk to you right now, they'll disappear. And then those little moments of inconsistency start to attack the esteem, because like, why am I not important enough to have my time respected? So here's I want you to tell me how this sounds. I'm treating you like shit. I'm treating you like you don't matter. But because you perceive that I am treating you like shit, okay? And we got to add something on here. Hold on. I'm treating you like shit. It has nothing to do with you, but I also am not telling you it has nothing to do with you. So you perceive that I am treating you like shit because I am, but you also perceive that it's about you. So you have low self-esteem, even though I am giving you the patterns and the treatment of a person I believe is not worth shit. It is not worth it to text you when I have to change my plans. It is not worth it for me to text you to tell you I thought of you. It is not worth it for me to talk to you at all until it's time to fuck. Okay? But I have nothing to do with your self-esteem. Me treating you like shit should not make you feel bad if you have good self-esteem. So your self-esteem is the issue and not my behavior of giving you signals that you are not shit. Go Hill. Now, what sense does that make? Because that's literally what some of you be saying. It's important. Everything I say is important. That's important. To some extent, you are responsible for yourself. I am an advocate of being responsible for oneself, right? So at that point, when it's like, hey, this is actually affecting my self-esteem. I really should be feeling good about myself, but I seem to be struggling with feeling good about myself when this person treats me this way. Again, the only solution for that is either for the other person to start showing regard to help build that esteem back up, or I myself would have to remove myself, because I actually do have good self-esteem and it's only being affected because I am consistently being treated poorly. It does not mean that I have a long-standing issue or insecurity, because as soon as I step away, that shit goes back up. It's another thing if it doesn't, but it did. Okay? So, I'm going to see the next thing. I think this actually falls within the, if it's in here, because I don't know when I took that picture and it might not be here. Okay? Dang. I don't even know what it looks like, and I don't remember when I took it, because some of these things have been some of these things have been taken when, like I think of topics all the time. Hmm. Weird. Weird, 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 weird. Where would it be? Uh, mm, parenting. There is. Here it is. I found it. Sorry it took me so long. And actually, I found it and I didn't even read the first sentence. I went immediately down to the bottom, but it's here. So, what this is called is narcissistic thought supply. Okay, so narcissistic supply describes anything that feeds a narcissist with the oxygen they desperately need to live and breathe. This fuel can be garnered from both objects and people, publicly or in private. Sometimes a narcissist obtains more narcissistic supply from just the thought of inflicting pain onto a victim than actually being there in person to torment them. Yes, it's unbelievably sick, but abusers actually get their rocks off on imagining the victim's distress or longing. Okay, so knowing they've disappointed, hurt, or confused their target provides the narcissist with the mammoth amounts of narcissistic thought supply. And here are some examples of how narcissist extracts thought supply. This is actually what inspired That's Weird. Okay, I started with talking about the title That's Weird for this video. Not this video. This video is actually called Recognizing Patterns is Not Insecurity. But the reason that I say that's weird is because we'll get there. I'm about to get there. All right, so it says intentionally leaving the victim hanging by not showing up to an arrangement, refusing to give closure at the end of a relationship, not inviting the victim to a party, then uploading photos of the event on social media, befriending people from the victim support network, sending abusive messages to the victim, subtweeting or vague booking about the victim, calling the victim from a withheld or unknown number, hoovering the victim with future faking or faux promises of change, sending a vague message or voicemail saying something like miss you, driving past the target's house work knowing they'll be seen, recruiting enablers from the victim support network, further isolating them, and professing undying love only to discard once they ascertain the victim is interested. Okay, so here is what I noticed. One, and this is something that I just noticed just now. Are you using the fact that I have been talking shit, thinking that I could not be seen, to make me look like I'm the one doing this narcissistic thought supply when it's actually you, because you are the one who has refused to give closure at the end of the relationship? Now, this is very important, and this is why I say that's weird, right? Because we will kind of chastise people or like shame them for wanting closure, right? That's been a thing. um, or it's the thing that you tell us to do. You don't need closure. If we don't need closure, then it wouldn't be a narcissistic tactic to refuse to give closure. That's why it's weird. It's weird because you're telling me, no, you don't need closure, and you are the problem for seeking closure because you don't need closure. You can get closure yourself. You're so strong. You're so powerful. It's within you. So you asking that person for closure, you need to heal. Okay. If it was not a tactic, and if closure wasn't needed from someone, it wouldn't be considered a narcissistic tactic. And all of the accountability, yet and again, falls on the victim because they need closure. They're asking for closure. These motherfuckers ain't, they done come in here. They so quickly fucking charged me for a few little spots of fucking carpet, but can't fucking fix my fucking blinds. I done fucking complained about the blinds for the last 2 years. Anyways, sorry. That's weird. This is so important because if closure was not needed, it wouldn't be considered a narcissistic tactic. And then all of the, all of the work to get closure for oneself is now placed and burdened upon me, you, whoever. Listen, y'all are coping. You aren't actually healed because you didn't get closure. You're coping, and then you're forcing it on me to cope and telling me that I'm not doing something well enough because I'm not coping the way you did. Yeah, I moved on. That shit. That shit. This is what makes me differentiated from you. Because I can admit that I really want closure. And you instead say, I'm really strong because I didn't ask for closure. I just went and it was within me. And very well, it could have been. I've been searching. It ain't there. How does one mend a heart they did not break without explanation? Can you tell me? Oh, you did tell me, and I tried it. It didn't work. I just didn't do it hard enough. I didn't do it enough. Okay. Again, just so we're clear, if you didn't need closure at all, refusing to give closure would not be a narcissistic tactic. And by telling people that they don't need closure and they can do it all themselves, you are taking all the accountability away from the narcissist and placing it on the victim's shoulders and calling them toxic for wanting it. But again, it would not be a tactic if it was not abusive. That's weird. That's victim blaming. And everybody who has said that they healed, I'm not saying that you didn't heal. Okay, I think sometimes I say certain things and I know that y'all take it out of context or you don't understand from my thought process, right? But all you are actually doing is coping. Coping is not the same as healing. And for those of you specifically who attack me because of this, right? You are then placing, you're projecting. You're projecting that you're coping from not receiving closure and doing it yourself. Makes you better than me, healthier than me, when in fact, coping is not healing. So none of us are healed. Might have went over your head. Coping is not the same as healing. You do, in fact, need closure. Or refusing to provide closure would not be considered a narcissistic tactic. Everything that you're doing that you claim you've healed, and I didn't need closure, and I'm strong, is just a cope. It's not healing. Then you try to project that onto everyone else, that they're weak, they're messed up, you need to heal. No, we all need to heal because coping is not the equivalent of healing. And I, for one, am tired of coping. That's how I've gotten here. Does not mean that coping cannot be an avenue to healing, but the fact that you would even think to speak to me or come to me or think you're about to check me because I have yet to find healing from coping from something that happened less than a year ago, that means you're not healed, because you wouldn't do that if you were healed. You wouldn't do that to me. Yep. That's weird. So anyways, I had a few more things to talk about. Hopefully you don't mind me being here for 40 minutes and 58 seconds, but excuse me. The last thing that I wanted to talk about is something that posted shortly after. It's like really weird because I'm not searching. I don't search for. Hold on a second. Hey, Aaron, you're not done eating? Okay, so moving on to the next topic. This was posted. I don't look for articles that are confirmation biased. You know what I'm saying? I'm not sitting here and being like, look, let me find something that proves what I said. No, it just comes up in my algorithm, and oftentimes what it looks like is that it reality, like, like I speak certain things into reality. It seems like it's not true completely. But to some extent, if you experience what I experienced, you would think that that is the case. Okay. So if you give me a second, I'm looking for when I made that video about co-regulation. All right. The opposite of stonewalling. It was 1 month ago. It was posted on February 25th. Okay. And so then this article came out very shortly after that, and it looks like it was updated as of today. All right. So the title of this video is called not video. The title of this article, it's on Psychology Today. It's called Co-Regulation, Self-Sufficiency's Greatest Achievement. The benefits of co-regulation often surpass going it alone. And this was written by Robert N. Johansson, PhD. Okay. It says, the two-person dance of co-regulation can powerfully restore emotional equilibrium. Mothers often provide, this is the key points, by the way. Mothers often provide the first experience of co-regulation. That's because mind your business. So, The key points, and I'll start over because my son came to speak to me. But the key points are: the two-person dance of co-regulation can powerfully restore emotional equilibrium. Mothers often provide the first experience of co-regulation, shaping a person's emotional resilience. And intimate relationships serve as co-regulation's greatest testing ground. Hmm. All right, for virtually half a century, as a practicing psychologist, I've preached the gospel of emotional self sufficiency as a sparkling jewel in the crown of optimal mental health. Likewise, its conceptual next of kin, emotional regulation and self soothing, have always had my unqualified endorsement and recommendation as universally coveted abilities that should have a prominent place in everyone's self management repertoire. Okay. But as important as these self care capacities are, they may be outranked by the transcendent value of co regulation. Okay. For centuries, the advantages of co regulation and its allied concepts have populated the pages of broad swath of literature and theology, philosophy, and more recently, psychology. For instance, the high valued, eagerly researched science on emotional intelligence regards co regulation as an integral part of its family of concepts on psychological maturity, albeit it is set apart by its unique function of using one's own nervous system to help distress other or to help a distressed other re-regulate. Wait, I'm reading that wrong. It is set apart by its unique function of using one's own nervous system to help a distressed other re regulate their overstimulated nervous system. Because of co regulation's distinction as a two-person enterprise, as opposed to what one does for oneself to manage their emotions, it may be the highest ranking member in this family of related concepts. Okay, so researchers McCaslin and Good define co regulation as the interaction between two or more individuals where those in caregiver roles help regulate the emotions of a needy or distraught person. Others cleverly define it as two nervous systems in a collaborative dance to soothe or de escalate debilitating negative arousal in a distressed, overwhelmed other. Okay, simply one person's emotional calm is lent to another. Okay, numerous studies have consistently shown that just being with a trusted other during times of affliction significantly mitigates the magnitude of our stress. Convincingly, the emotional dividends of co regulation surpass the within person benefits we derive from being self sufficient. Regulating our emotions or soothing ourselves, as critical as these capabilities are, but perhaps these three key self regulators achieve their uppermost expression when playing their role in securing the benefits of co regulation by tapping the vital, supportive emotional resources of our trusted, significant others, their between persons role. Okay. Co regulation stands on the shoulders of these three critical forerunners. Okay. For example, under personally stressful circumstances, when I deliberately reach out for additional support from loving family or friends, my self soothing capacity may realize its highest expression, exceeding anything I might do strictly on my own to cope with my stress. Okay. And I like that he added this little part in because this is actually something that I touched on in um, my video, the opposite of stonewalling. It says good mothers contain the uncontainable. When their child is in crisis, a well regulated, well attuned mother imposes a benevolent presence over their dysregulated, emotionally overwhelmed child to help down regulate their intense emotions, something the child cannot do for themselves. And the mother's calm aura contains or metabolizes the acute emotions that overpower the child's underdeveloped coping strategies. Under these auspicious, compassionate circumstances, the child's emotional equilibrium is restored. Okay, and this sympathetic use of maternal emotional resources divests the child of the onerous burden of being unattended, left alone, which may be the worst part of the child's crisis. And because of the child's strong identification with their mother, the child can learn that if the mother is able to tolerate my extreme feelings, then I can as well. Okay, so excuse me, when the same quality of parental care is repeated or pattern like, neural circuitries in the child's brain are established, which lay groundwork for the child's own regulatory capacity, and the mother's calming influence is thus internalized and even eventually germinates, enabling the child to soothe themselves under stressful circumstances. Okay, so then he gets into genetic like effects. Okay, he says, of course, before a mother can effectively perform this essential function of co regulation, there is an indispensable pre-qualifier. She must first be well regulated herself. Absent this, the child's distress can be virulent and emotionally infect their mother. Now, both are destabilized and there's no calm to be transmitted. Conversely, a reasonably consistent, emotionally well regulated mother can pass on her capacity for managing stress like in a genetic like manner as a part of the child's rightful inheritance. This is very important because my child is mostly emotionally regulated. Like he doesn't have any issues at school. I've been told multiple times about his levels of patience. Like somebody has to teach him that, is what somebody said. Somebody has to teach him that. So we know that you're good because he has a level of patience that most 8-year-olds do not do. It has to be demonstrated. I said in that video, we can't both be mad when you go to fucking when we do get dysregulated together. And then I pull back for a second, I calm myself down, and then I go and I handle him. Right? So then it moves on to a frequent behavioral prescription. A recurring behavioral prescription of mine is to encourage my clients to learn to effectively tap into their relational resources for emotional support rather than remain alone when beset with intensive negative feelings. In the embracing company of attentive others, our intense emotional experience gets downsized and it becomes more tolerable and more manageable. On a molecular level, our stress hormones, cortisol, adrenaline drop significantly, and oxytocin levels shoot upwards during co regulation experiences, making our recovery from acute stress speedier and more complete. Even our immune system enjoys a boost in efficiency in preventing and combating physical disease. And the pluses of co regulation often outweigh self sufficiency, go it alone strategies that, under some situations, may even enfeeble more than strengthen us. Okay. Again, it can be cogently argued that self sufficiency's greatest accomplishment comes in the form of securing co regulation experiences. And without these, self sufficiency may not achieve its fullest range of personal benefits. Intimacy hones our co-regulatory skills, and for most of us, co-regulation is likely to have its greatest testing ground and its greatest usefulness within the intimate relationship. Within its complicated, often demanding context, partners are frequently called upon to supportively empathize with one another. And those partners who momentarily put aside their personal needs and feelings in order to attune to and help contain their partner's emotional downward spiraling, deepen their emotional bond, and thus upgrade their intimacy IQ. Co regulations reward flow in both directions. When one partner extends to another sensitive, respectful understanding, that partner's co regulatory efforts become an earned entitlement, okay, and an emotional credit card that can be used when they themselves encounter stressful circumstances. These empathetic between partner back and forth dynamics help explain the burgeoning research findings on how partners coupled in stable, satisfying relationships enjoy quality of life advantages as well as greater longevity. All right. And so he went on to ask, what are your regulatory experiences like? They're terrible. I've never done it. I already told you exactly. Some of you haven't either, because I done already told you the age old what all of us know. Okay, well, all of us know, stop that crying or I'm gonna give you something to cry about. Go cry in your room. I don't want to hear that. A lot of us have experienced a lack of co-regulation with our parents. Therefore, we get into adulthood and we don't even think that that shit is important. You become avoidance, and other avoidance are fucking encouraging other avoidance not to you don't owe them nothing. You don't got to check in with them. You don't have to be you know tied to them like that. They're insecure. PhD said I'm not. He literally said I'm not, in so many words. Sir, what's your name again? Robert N. Johansson. I just want to thank you today for your article that, like I said, it came out. It says that it was recently edited. It says it was recently edited today, actually. But when I originally came to that, it was... I don't know if it's going to show me now that I opened it again. Yeah, it's showing it for today. But I originally opened that shit like literally days after I did that video. It came up in my like little feed that I get, right? So once again, as you all continue to argue and say how, all this shit, no, that's weird. That's real weird. I think I'm calling it exactly as it should be. If you don't agree, you don't gotta fuck with me. But I'm not about backing down, I know that. Y'all have a good evening.